Please look at this lighting. It's terrible. I don't know what happened. This thing used to work fine. It is, what time is it right now? Just 10 o'clock here in Arizona. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to the few people that are here. Anyway, it's about 9 o'clock here in Arizona. Not too many people leaving my neighborhood or driving around in my neighborhood. This time it's a real quiet neighborhood, other than the noise harassment stuff and the stalking cars. But right as I leave my house, there's like 4 cars that pull up my street all at the same time. Here's one of them right here. His license plate is CBY9128. Of course, he's going to pull into the first driveway that he can, so he doesn't have to be on camera. Anyway, I'm just saying, in a real quiet neighborhood, when you leave your home, a convoy of 4 vehicles doesn't usually drive down your street all in a line. And I tried to record that, and of course, as soon as they were passing by me, the signal went out on my phone. Imagine that, impeccable timing. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, I started documenting the organized stalking and harassment that takes place in my life in November of 2017. And there was an Avondale police officer that was harassing me in the store. There's a couple people in there, but videos on my website on barredin.us. And I pulled out my phone and I started questioning that police officer, asking her, telling her what was going on. She was laughing at me. She thought it was pretty funny that I told her people were breaking into my house, that people were harassing me, all the stuff I was letting her know. Told her people were being attacked with directed energy weapons, all kinds of different stuff. She said, well, that's we don't have the technology to deal with that. And I said, okay, well, if you don't, then you can run that up the chain of command, and you can make a report with somebody, talk to a detective, talk to the FBI, somebody. And she basically ran out of excuses and told me to fill out an online form and told me that'll get the ball rolling, like the ball in Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. He's running away from the ball, trying to run for his life. So I uploaded that video to YouTube, and lo and behold, 3 weeks later, a guy named Russell Roberts, who is a former police officer, I found out eventually, was harassing me in the exact same store. Followed him out to get his license plate, and he rolls down his window, calls me a faggot ass. Which, what grown man says something like that, first off? And pulls a gun on me. I go back to my house. He follows me to my house. take off through the neighborhood running from him because he's got a gun and he followed me in my house. And then when I get to the other side of the neighborhood, there are police officers waiting and they arrest me for aggravated assault. I asked them to watch the video. I asked them to read this paper that I had. They laughed at me. They kept making comments about somebody having the flu, a bunch of different stuff like that. And then I went to jail. I was in jail overnight, got out, called an attorney, and I spent the next 1 year and 8 months trying to fight in court through 3 attorneys, tried to represent myself pro se and ask for a trial. And I was denied a trial, and I was forced to sign a plea deal electronically. And when I was forced to sign this plea deal, I said I need to read the paperwork. They said, no, you have to sign the electronic signature box or else the paperwork won't print out. That's how it works. And I was like, that's weird that you have people sign things before they read them. I signed the paperwork, but I specifically asked the judge, Michael J. Herod, Herrod. I asked the judge, okay, if I sign this plea deal, am I going to be demanded to take a psychological evaluation? Because I know I've done enough research, I've talked to enough other targeted individuals to understand that that's how they do this. They want to, if you figure out the program, they want to psych evaluate. And he said, well, that'll be up to the probation officer. And I thought, that's weird. There's a probation officer that is trained to decide if somebody needs to take a psychological evaluation or not. And he's like, oh, it'll be up to the probation officer. So I'm like, okay. Go to the first probation meeting after I am sentenced, after I signed the plea deal, which was a felony class 6 for disorderly conduct. In any other state, pretty much other than Arizona, that's a misdemeanor. I go to the first meeting, and the probation officer tells me that I'm going to need to do a psychological evaluation. They tell him, were you supposed to like evaluate me, ask me some questions? He goes, no, it says here in these court papers that you need to go to this psychological evaluation. I was like, well, the judge lied to me. And everything is supposed to be recorded in court, audio, transcribed by the stenographer. And so what I've done is I have a motion filled out to request to return back to court to have the judge update this paperwork that will comply to with what I was told in court. And today is my probation meeting. Let's see what else. Last time I was here, I have to pay with a money order. Last time I came to this store, my truck started fine, just like it did in the video here when we started this video. I got out to my truck and my battery was dead. Which this is an almost new battery. There should be no issue with the battery being dead. Nothing was left on, no lights, no nothing. And then I talked to a few other targeted individuals, and I've heard this before, but somehow they can kill your battery with some kind of electromagnetic pulse, EMP, something like that. I can imagine if we have technology to get to space, we've got technology to kill somebody's battery, right? I mean, come on. And that was right before my probation meeting. So now, one thing that when you go to a probation meeting, they ask you if you've had any contact with police. And a while back, I did have some contact with police. They came to my door and they served me with an order of no contact from, now this video is on my YouTube channel. It was months ago. A lady named Claudia Ramirez, who is a Spanish teacher over here at my daughter's high school. Her and her brother, Pedro, met me in a parking lot, and impeded my progress. They basically, the guy's like 6'2", 220 pounds, probably more, 250, something like that. Big guy. Try to get out of my truck. He's standing in my doorway, won't let me out of my truck. Uh, I'm sorry, wouldn't let me in my truck when I was getting back in. Get my story backwards here. When I got out of my truck, this is when I still had my 4Runner, had a real nice 2011 4Runner. I go to the back of the 4Runner. The guy walks up to my truck and is leaning into my truck, leaning into my face, about an inch away from me, and tell him to get away from me. And they're just antagonizing me and harassing me. And then waited for me in the parking lot. No reason to be at the post office. He said they were waiting to buy tools from some guy, which is their plausible deniability, their bullshit story, in order to allow them to stay there and harass me. They've got a reason. And I come back out to my truck and I try to get in my truck. The guy's standing in my way, so I can't get in. He's getting in my face. I've got it all on video. I get through that, go back to my house, upload the video. The next thing I know, there's police knocking on my door, serving me with an order of no protection for harassment. And this lady lied in the report and said that I was harassing minor children and filming minor children during the incident. I thought, no way. There's no way in hell I'm going to put up with this. So I took her to court to fight it. You can just ignore an order of no contact if you want, and the order stays in place for a year. They were hoping I was going to do that just so I would have one more thing that made me that would help them with their slander campaign. And I decided that's not going to happen. I took him to court. I showed the judge the video. The judge was appalled when she saw the video of the lady calling me a white piece of shit, telling me she's there to me, we're not in your way, there's a line right here, it's a line, it's a line. They're talking. I was just talking the day before about illegal immigration and the border, commending ICE agents on their great job at guarding the border. So they wanted to make a point that they wanted to tell me that they're on their side of the line, that there's a line, and it was intentional, organized stalking and harassment. So they lied in the report, took them to court, showed the judge the video. The judge reprimanded Miss Ramirez. Miss Ramirez sat there in court and cried and acted like she was in fear for her life. She had like 6 or 7 other teachers from the school that were there, sitting in the audience, in the I don't know what you call that area, sitting there staring at me, giving me dirty looks like I was some kind of criminal, when this lady is literally a stalker and a liar. I got the order of no contact overturned. The judge said that she thought that people that used hate speech should be arrested, and court day was over, and I got a piece of paper saying that the order of no contact has been nullified. And I've had that piece of paper with me. I carry it with me just in case that lady shows up somewhere I am and tries to say he's violating this order of no contact, and I've got my piece of paper that says that it's been nullified. Now, I've had that piece of paper for months with me. The last probation meeting that I had to take that piece of paper in so they can make a copy of it and add it to my personal file. I took it in, and wouldn't you know, they can't make a copy of it to put it in my personal file. Why? Because that would be something positive to show proof that I am being stalked and harassed, that I have been lied about. So I keep my paper with me. I go to pay my house payment, and guess what? When I go to pay the house payment, their printer is broken. Oh, sorry, the printer's broken. We can't print this out for you. So basically, every printer in town was broken that day. Imagine that. Place where I go pay my rent. Yeah, not house payment, rent. I lost my house in California going through all this, and it's just one thing after another. So I took a photo of that paper and I text messaged it to the probation officer, and I said, "Here, I just want to make sure that you have a copy of uh, this order of no contact that's nullified." And he said, "Well, just bring your paper in next time I see you." I've had that paper with me. I keep it right here in my center console in my truck. I go to find it this morning. It is gone. And the last few times I've gone to FedEx, gone to the post office. In my video yesterday, there was a guy sitting there. I made a note of it, sitting there waiting in his truck. When I went to the post office, came back out, the guy's putting back on his seatbelt and pulling out at the exact same time that I come back into my truck. So that piece of paper that I've had with me for months, that I wanted to take in to have them copy it finally and put it in my file, is now missing. So I was in the military for 15 years. We had to keep documents, we had to keep records, we had to do all kinds of different stuff. I'm pretty decent. I'm not the best at staying organized and keeping my documents in place, but things like that I need to keep with me, I don't lose. And all of a sudden, that is missing. So I don't have that when I need to go into this meeting now. I'm sure the printer will work fine today. So, now I have to go in here to get a money order. Every time I go in here to get a money order, there's people waiting in line that decide they want to start weird conversations with me. Actually, last time I went in here, there was a lady in line that is in one of my YouTube videos that almost ran into me while I was driving. And she had a kid in the car, and I explained to her, hey, you need to not be gang stalking people. It's the lady in the big black Suburban, and you can check out the video. But she just happened to be standing in line in front of me, and got in a conversation with her. And of course, there's some people waiting out here at the front door. I'm just going to leave this on while I go in here and do this. Having a store meeting. Oh, I guess nobody wanted to be on camera. Every time I come in here without the camera, there's a really long line. Hey, buddy. Good morning. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. Seen a money order for what is it this time? $60.
60?
Yeah.
All right. 60, 88 today.
There's 61. Man, that is such interesting coincidence. Every time I come in here, before I go to this meeting I'm going to, without my YouTube stream going, there's like 10 people in line.
Really?
And they all want to make weird conversations with me. And today I've got it on. Not one person.
Jeez. All right.
That sounds weird, right? That I'm even talking about that. Hey, check it out. I'll give you a card. Website, bardin.us, right there.
Right on.
And if you check that out, it'll help you understand what I'm talking about.
Right on.
All right, man. Have a good day.
Have a good one.
All right. Imagine that. The time the live stream is on, not one person in line. You guys ready? No big deal. Get my money order and go. 30 seconds. Every other time takes 10 minutes. So when you turn the camera on, what's up, buddy? When you turn the camera on, these people just get called off. All right. All right, now it's very clever the way that they do this with these probation meetings. It is a state court. Actually, it's a county court that you go into when you go through the court proceedings. Everything is done at the Maricopa County Courthouse, and the case is against the state of Arizona. Which is weird because I never got into any situation with the state of Arizona. I got stalked and harassed by Russell Roberts, the former police officer, which, why isn't he a police officer anymore? When you go to probation meetings, you go to a federal courthouse. So the probation office is in a federal court building. Now they'll hassle you at just about any courthouse that you try to film in, but I believe you have more rights. As far as the First Amendment goes, you have the right to film anywhere in public, any publicly funded building. You should have the right to film anywhere. And that's what a lot of the auditors do. The First Amendment auditors, they go in and they film everywhere. Okay, so here, I just want to show you. So here's a red car, here's a white car. If you've been watching my videos and you see the patterns that I've explained a million times, right before you do something to harass me or put me through some kind of street theater skit, they've got a red and white car. The neighbors on my left have a red and white car. The neighbors on my right have a white and red car. They'll park red and white cars right next to each other in front of my house. It's supposed to sound ridiculous if you've never gone through this, but they do it enough times and you start to see the pattern, and it's the way that they signal. So anyway, a lot of the auditors, oh, here's a smashed up car right here. Go out in a tow truck. So the auditors go into courthouses, they go into post offices, they go into all these different places that you're not supposed to film, and then they wait for the employees to call the police, and then they have conversations with the police and stuff like that. Sometimes they get arrested, sometimes they exercise their First Amendment rights, and nothing happens. The police do their job and allow the auditor to continue filming. So, but in a federal building, a federal courthouse, you're not allowed to film. I had my video glasses with me when I went to court, just in my bag. I went through the security checkpoint. One of the security guards pushed the button on my glasses and put them back in my bag. They search your bag, they take stuff out, they mess with it. He pushed the button to turn on my video glasses, and I'm sitting there by the courthouse waiting to go into court. I'm going through my stuff and I realized the little lights on my glasses, and I turn it off. As I'm putting them back in my bag, like 6 or 7 police officers come around the corner and start questioning me. Are you filming in here? Are you filming in here? They said you were filming in here. It was a complete setup. I said, no, I wasn't filming in here. The guy at the security checkpoint must have hit the button on my video glasses. I was putting it back in my bag, and they made a huge deal about it. They wanted to confiscate my things. I said no. They said, well, we need the memory cards. We need, you know. I was like, no, I'm not giving you anything. You can arrest me if you want. I'm not giving you anything. And they eventually backed down. Let me keep my stuff. I didn't film, but every time that I've gone into this probation meeting, the probation officer is constantly questioning me. Are you filming me? Are you filming me? I have my Ray-Bans on. These are, I mean, anybody that's lived in the United States for any amount of time knows what a fucking pair of Ray-Bans are. And the guy's constantly asking me every time I go in there, are those video recording glasses? I'm like, no, dude, they're Ray-Bans. Here, I hand it to him. Like, check them out. You know, are you sure? Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. So that they're constantly just trying to manifest something that you're doing wrong. They want you to be doing something wrong. They'll tell you, we're here to help. We're here to help. We want to help you get through this. And but what they do is they constantly figure out ways to try to project blame or shame onto you or guilt when you're doing absolutely nothing wrong. All I've tried to do is document what's going on, which going into a federal courthouse right now makes it impossible. I can't film in a federal courthouse. If I do, they'll go ahead and arrest me, and that would violate my probation, and then I don't know what the whole process is. So anyway, the probation officer the entire time that I've been going there is telling me, you got to go through this psychological evaluation. And under duress, I agreed in the beginning. I was like, well, I guess there's nothing else I can do. And then I realized, you know what, I can file a motion and I can go back to court and I can speak to the judge about this. Say, why did you tell me one thing and I was told another when I go to this meeting? You know, I specifically made a point in court to say, I'm not signing this. The psychological evaluation is set up around, this whole program is set up around something called the Minneapolis Multiphasic Inventory, the MMPI. It's a 600 question test that evaluates your personality and your psychological state. So it will, it's supposed to evaluate you to say if you're sane or not, basically, if you're delusional or schizophrenic. Well, when they literally, so there's questions in there like, are people following you? Do you know who's responsible for your downfall? Is your father, or was your father a good person? Yes or no? Questions that, some questions that cannot be answered, yes or no. Or if people are literally following you in traffic and you answer no, one, you're lying, but so you're screwed either way on that test. So they realized, hey, you know what, we have this test. If we have people in situations that they cannot win, follow them around, have somebody harass them, destroy their finances covertly, so it's really hard to prove. So yes, they know who's responsible for their downfall. And you answer those questions and they say, so when I took the MMPI, I voluntarily took one because my attorney, the first attorney that I fired, Mark J. Victor, spent tens of thousands of dollars with him. When I talked to him, he said, well, you just need to get a psychological evaluation. That'll show that you're that everything's fine, and that'll help you in court. I go into the psychological evaluator, and the guy immediately starts treating me like a piece of trash. I try to speak to him about MK Ultra, which is a proven thing, about COINTELPRO, and organized stalking and harassment. I take the MMPI test, I get the results back, and he says, well, Mike, it shows here that you couldn't be more of an honest person. Guy pointing his phone at me right now. You couldn't be more of an honest person. This test shows that you are, there's no doubt in our minds that we should believe what you're saying. But since you think that people are following you, there's a chance you could be delusional. I'm like, I have documentation of this. I have video of this. I've showed this over and over, the repetition, the patterns. There's thousands of other people that are experiencing the exact same thing. Former intel agents, doctors, lawyers, people that, you know, are supposed to be credible, experiencing the exact same thing. And he says, well, I have to put that in my report. And I was like, okay. So that goes to the court. And they've been trying to evaluate me since. Will not look at any of my evidence, will not listen to anything I have to say. They're just waiting for you to say, yes, people are following me. They don't want to hear any facts. They don't want to see any evidence. They just want to evaluate you so you cannot testify in court, and they can further control you. What I mean by that is, if you are evaluated delusional and somebody starts stalking and or continues to stalk and harass your home, they can ramp up. They can do basically anything they want. They can do the most ridiculous shit to you at your home. You can call the police and you can report it to the police. They show up and they say, do you have some kind of mental evaluation? And I don't think you're allowed to lie to them. Can't say no. And you say yes, and they're like, well, you imagined it. Have a good day. Or they take you into the psych ward, even though there are literally people that are stalking and harassing you. The other thing they can do is put you on psychotropic or SSRI drugs. These are drugs that make the long-term trauma-based mind control, the tech weapons that are used on targeted individuals, more susceptible. There are just so many different ways that they want to try to control you. And keeping you in fear all the time, keeping you traumatized, attacking your finances. All right, show I'm live. It shows my videos frozen. Somebody just called me. I put my phone on do not disturb, which means I should not be getting any phone calls. I did that right before I started this video, and yet I got a phone call just now. It's probably the phone call from the homeowners association that I've been waiting for them to call me and let me explain to them that I hadn't had my trailer parked out in front of my house for more than 3 days, and there was no reason for them to fine me $150 again. Just all part of the whole thing. So, NorCal targeted says, oh no, his phone is hacked. Yeah, actually I found spyware on my phone called Digital Watchdog, and I found another one called Fairplay.h2. And basically, everyone's phone is hacked since the Patriot Act, since 9/11, when they decided that they were going to gain access to everyone's phone. So anyone's phone can be manipulated. All right, well, I'm going into this federal courthouse. I need to turn off my video. Usually when I get out of here, I'll just post something on Twitter. Twitter account is Michael Barden 8, MICHAELBARDEN, number 8. And if I don't post something on there by like noon, come looking for me. Everybody have a good day.